everybody. Welcome to ABA Inside Track, the podcast that's like reading in your car, but safer. I'm your host, Robert Perry Cruz, and with me as always are my fabulous co-hosts.
Hey, Rob, it's Diana.
And it's me, Jackie.
So we are coming to you live with our March 2019 episode preview. We switched things up. We started last month. Rather than doing individual previews in between various episodes, we thought, let's just look ahead to the month and have everything in one shot. So you will know exactly what we'll be talking about all month long.
We missed your face.
And yes, and I screwed up the camera last time, but we got it working this time. So it is March 2019, and we'll be talking about all the behavior analytic articles that you will want to know of or be able to find citations for so that you can be a part of our episode discussion. So if you're new to the show, every episode of ABA Inside Track takes a topic in behavior analysis and looks at the research on that topic and sort of sits and we discuss those articles and what that means for us as practitioners, as clinicians. And we have 3 topics this month that we will be reviewing and articles to go along with it. So why don't we start this preview by going over what those are. So our first topic we'll be talking about, we have a special guest, Justin Leaf, who will be talking with us about is social thinking the TM, the trademark, appropriate for behavior analysts? It's kind of a long title, but we had a bunch of them that kind of we went through. We figured that was sort of the general gist of what we were going to be talking with Justin about. And we'll be talking about 4 articles for that episode. The first is the Teaching Interaction Procedure and Behavioral Skills Training for Individuals Diagnosed with Autism Spectrum Disorder, a review and commentary by Leaf, Townley-Cochran, Taubman, Cihon, Oppenheim-Leaf, Kassardjian, Leaf, McEachin, and Pentz. That's in the Review Journal of Autism and Developmental Disorders 2015. Then the main event article will be Social Thinking, Science, Pseudoscience, or Anti-Science by Leaf, Kassardjian, Oppenheim-Leaf, Cihon, Taubman, Leaf, and McEachin. And that's in Behavior Analysis and Practice 2016. There's also an erratum to that article, 2016. So that's a, little 2-pager. And then finally, the last article, Social Thinking Methodology, Evidence-Based or Empirically Supported, a response to Leaf et al. 2016. And that's by Crook and Garcia Winner, also in Behavior Analysis and Practice, and also in 2016. And we'll have Justin himself, Dr. Justin Leaf himself, on to talk all about those articles with us.
Great.
Next topic.
So that was episode 78. This is episode 79.
Mm-hmm. So that's 78. So 79, we will be doing a live recording. So a live recording at the Tax Center, and that's here in Massachusetts. It's a local company working...
The Autism Community Therapist.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a local company working with children with autism in the Massachusetts area. And so we thought, let's do a topic about tax, the verbal operant. And so we reviewed a few articles there. The Effects of Alternating Manned and Tact Training on the Acquisition of Tax by Carroll and Hess in the Analysis of Verbal Behavior, 1987. Effects of Manned Tact versus Tact-Only Training on the Acquisition of Tax by Arntzen and Almas in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis, 2002. And Acquisition of Mands and Tacts with Concurrent Echoic Training by Kodak and Clements, also in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis, and that's 2009. So for those of you, if you're very new to the show, that is going to be a live episode. We've only done a few of those, so it's got kind of a different field of the... we had a bonus one that was sort of a live talk we did. But yeah, so we've done 2. 2 total that are like an episode format. So it's a different flavor. So if that's your first one, you might as well try that one. It's a lot more of us joking around, I think.
It's a lot of fun.
But it was a lot of fun, yes, because we have a little bit more fun. When it's just the 3 of us around this table,
it's very boring.
It's very serious,
You mean the studio?
The studio where I eat my dinner. And then our final topic, it was an embarrassment of riches in March because we have another special guest.
Wow.
We have Dr. Jason Vladescu, who will be talking to us about instructive feedback. And we have 3 articles that we'll be discussing with Jason, and they are Increasing Instructional Efficiency by Presenting Additional Stimuli and Learning Trials for Children with Autism Spectrum Disorders by Vladescu and Kodak. That's in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis in 2013. Then, Examination of Variables that Affect the Efficacy, of Instructive Feedback by Hawk, Zemantic, Kodak, LeBlanc, and Ruppert. And that's in Behavioral Interventions. Behavioral Interventions 2017. And then finally, Teaching Children with Autism Spectrum Disorder to Tact Olfactory Stimuli.
Ooh.
And that's by Das, Kissamore, Vladescu, Reeve, and Taylor Santa from the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis 2018. Woo!
So much good stuff.
So much coming up in March. All those episodes will be coming up in the next few weeks. Again, we were looking at the calendar and we realized March also stands for something else for us here at ABA Inside Track. It's going to be our 3rd anniversry of podcasting.
Oh, we did it.
What once was a podcast that had only 20 listeners is now a podcast with perhaps
More.
double that.
With 30 listeners.
That's not doubling, Jackie.
I'm just kidding.
No, I think we do a little better
There's
than
actually no way to know.
than doubling those listeners. We're very, very fortunate to have anyone who listens to our show. We're always very appreciative of it. And coming into our 3rd year, we are just as shocked as anybody that we're still doing this. If you're new to our show, we figured why don't we spend a little bit of time in this preview giving you kind of a heads up of what our show is. So like I mentioned at the top, every week we do an article topic that has behavior analytic research behind it, and we share that research. We kind of go over it like you wouldn't say like a journal club format. It's meant to be both intelligent discussion, but also a lot of fun. So we hope that people get that vibe from our show. What else should people know about the podcast, guys?
We offer continuing education certificates for listening to the show. So if you listen, you can find secret code words hidden in different parts in each episode, and you can go to our website, abainsidetrack.com, and buy those CEs by putting in the code words. And then Diana and I, depending on the day, make those certificates for you. So they're handmade with love.
That's right.
And usually we do them around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time each night.
Or later.
Or later, yeah. But it usually starts around then after our jobs are done.
Mine is later.
Mine is actually later, too.
Yeah.
But that could be the...
So by 8 p.m. Eastern, we mean 9 p.m.
More
Eastern.
Like 10. Yeah.
Or 11. But yeah,
So if you ordered it at, let's say, midnight Eastern Standard Time, you might not get it until 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time the next day.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. We're
Or if
sleeping
you ordered
at
it
midnight.
early in the morning at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you probably won't get it until 10 or 11 p.m. that night.
Right. So
But it is coming.
We do them every day. There's
Yes.
never a day.
I did take off Christmas Eve.
Oh, I did them on Christmas Eve.
No, I did them. I mean, I didn't do them.
I know, I did them on Christmas Eve because I was in... Oh, no, I didn't.
No.
Just kidding. I did New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Holidays.
I did New Year's Eve.
But we always enjoy it when people order CEs from us. But just so you know, we're always looking into ways to speed up the process, but they are handmade with love, like Jackie said. And so that's sort of the timetable that you would have. But I think the convenience factor of being able to listen to a podcast that also serves as a source of CEs wherever you want to go is pretty sweet. And if I didn't make them myself, I would definitely be getting those CEs. But I can't because I made it.
Yeah, you also can find us on our Facebook page, AB Inside Track, where each day we try to put up something interesting that we found on the internet related to behavior analysis or something else that is interesting and relatable to research. My most recent one was about cursive, which is coming back, I guess. Research suggests that it should come back, and there was a heavy debate in the comments section about cursive, so that's always a fun thing to check in. We have Science Saturdays. Diana does some good memes sometimes.
It's been a long time.
You still do them.
Sometimes.
And so that's a place that you can find us. We're also on Instagram at the handle ABA Inside Track, where we'll post a weekly photo of what we're doing while we're recording. And we also have merchandise.
Yes. So if you like the show, so again, if you're a new listener, you might not have decided that you like the show, but if you've been a long-time listener, maybe been with us
We may
since
not have convinced
year 2
you yet.
or 1, you can go to our store at TeePublic, and that's ABA Inside Track on TeePublic, where we have some really cool merchandise. We have 2 styles of shirt, and you can also put it on all sorts of other things. Long sleeve shirt, you can put it on, I think, bags, some phone cases. We try to keep it only a couple things, but one is just our podcast logo. The other is a really cool design that we had. So if you want to join the BCBA, kind of the baseball team, we have an ABA Inside Track baseball tee logo. which is sort of of the two, I think is my favorite t-shirt logo because it looks more like a baseball shirt. And people might say, whoa, are you on like a local team? He's like, no, I just listened to this fabulous podcast about behavior analysis. They'll have walked away as you started that sentence, so they won't get to hear the end of it, but you'll know. And that's what matters. So we actually had a contest last month.
We did.
For those of you who are listening, to win one of our ABA Inside Track shirts. So the contest was, well, Dana, you thought of the contest, so why don't you?
Oh, sure. So we're always looking for people to add reviews for us on Apple Podcasts, which used to be called iTunes, but apparently now is called Apple Podcasts.
They rebranded that a year ago.
The reason why is not just because we like to read nice things. It's because the more reviews you have on there, if someone searches for your show, it pops up sooner in the listings. So that's the idea, is that you're trying to get the word out to other BCBAs who might be looking for an ABA-based podcast.
And we also want to make it so that anyone who wants to read about the American Bar Association is out of luck. They got to listen to our podcast, which is unrelated to legal issues.
Right.
Take that, lawyers.
Yeah, that does happen sometimes too. So we asked people to write a review during the month of February, and then we said that we would randomly select one to win one of our t-shirts, which I think Rob just stated. So people did do that, and that was so awesome. Thank you guys so much. We randomly selected one of the reviewers during the month of February, and the person that we selected, I only know their
Apple
podcast handle, but it is IN-KY-IL-BCBA, which I think means probably someone who's a BCBA in Indiana or Kentucky and or Illinois, right? So if you are this person, you've won!
Hooray!
Congratulations! What we would need for you to do is reach out to us somehow, maybe through an email, and let me know.
What's our email?
abainsidetrack@gmail.com, and let me know somehow that this is you. And if I get multiple people that do that, I'm going to know something fishy is going on. So only do that if it really is you. And then I will find out everything I need to know to get you a t-shirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So thanks so much for doing that. That's
we should
awesome.
maybe we'll do that contest again too. It's kind of a fun way to, spur on it. It's not a ton of response effort, but it's still some response effort to write a review. So
they don't make it easy.
No, and Apple Podcast does not make it easy.
It's easier than running a 5K, and that's the other place you get a free t-shirt.
Oh, that's true. So if you're looking to spend $0 on t-shirts in 2019,
right,
this is one way you could maybe do that. Great.
Yeah.
So let's move into the last segment of our show, which really only has two segments. So the second segment of our show, it's errata. And errata was originally developed for people to send us corrections, and it still is, but we found most people don't send us a ton of corrections. They just send us interesting facts about some of the articles we read, sometimes just other messages or other topic ideas that we can cover, and we try to share a few of those here in this segment.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to share is a reader or a listener. I guess they're not readers. They're readers of articles. The listener wrote in about indirect hours. So can the practicum count for indirect or unrestricted hours for the practicum component?
You mean the podcast?
That was bad. Yes.
Yeah.
So can the podcast, listening to the podcast, count for unrestricted hours?
Right.
Yeah. And so maybe that's our answer.
Well, the answer really is that what is going to count as restricted or unrestricted is up to your practicum supervisor more so than anyone else. So I would recommend that everyone gets themselves very comfortable with the BACB experience standards and then have that conversation with your supervisor about what the two of you feel should count. Podcasting seems like it might fall into a gray area. So what my general recommendation is, and again, it's going to ultimately depend on what you and your supervisor agree to.
How cool they are about how awesome podcasts are.
No, that's not what I'm trying to say at all.
Sorry.
Is that, first of all, any unrestricted time you gather needs to be directly related to the clients that you're serving and behavioral programming that may benefit them. So that's the first thing to consider. The next is, if you do decide that we have a topic that is of interest to you, what I would recommend is to read the articles related to that topic and work out with your supervisor some type of discussion or project that you could do related to that reading material. During that whole project, you may end up listening to the podcast, but I would really view that listening time as supplemental to the time that you spend reading the articles yourself and then either discussing it with your supervisor or writing it up or doing some type of project related to that material, right? And that's the time that I would count as your unrestricted time to make sure that your bases are covered.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's just a question that people have asked.
Yeah.
And another thing that we've noticed is that sometimes there's some questions around your BACB number that we require you to have. So remember, there's a BACB certificate number, and then there's a BACB number that allows you to track...
ID number.
Yeah. Track yourself as an RBT to a BCABA, to a BCBA, to a BCBAD, if that's you, going through all of that. So when we're asking for that on the continuing education form, we're asking for your certificate number. Usually starts in a 1 or a 0 the year you pass the exam, and then a long number afterwards. So that's another clarification piece that that some people have emailed about.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can find that number, even your own number, on the BACB registry.
Yeah, you can look for yourself.
Yeah. It's a good one to memorize. Like your social security number when you went to college, you know, when you start going to conferences, probably want to learn that number, yeah.
Right?
Just easier. So? You know you're going to have to write it down at some point.
Yeah. And then we also got an email from Zachary Morford.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So he was one of the authors on our gamification episode.
Mm-hmm.
That was last month in February.
Yeah, episode 76.
Yep.
He wrote a really awesome paper providing a behavioral definition for game playing, which is a great article, and everyone should go read it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I wanted to just talk a little bit. He gave us some pointers and clarification about his article. So he wanted to clarify. He said that it was published 5 years ago. He can't remember how well he clarified the point in this paper, but his main contention with most treatments of gamification is that they're topographical.
Mm-hmm.
He says the tendency among practitioners of gamification is to slap common game elements such as points, battered, leaderboard, stories, avatars onto a task and say, voila, I have gamified this thing. However, in that case, what they have failed to do is actually analyze the extent to which these elements will actually function to change behavior. So I think that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
good.
He said rather than defining gamification as making something look more like a game topographically, why don't we try to identify what games do to behavior? So I think that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
He also wanted to point out that the criteria of game playing that was laid out in the paper doesn't specify any particular strategies that games use to produce the behavior. So he says he'll know when he says game, he's including all sorts: sports, board games, card games, video games, etc.
Yeah. And you get that from like the rules that he lays out as far as what should count as game playing or not. And it could be really broad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing he wanted to tell us is that he made a website that he found. It's not a website he made, but it's a website that he found after he published his paper. It's called Quantic Foundry, quanticfoundry.com. They have a gamer motivation survey that you can take. So that's something like a reinforcer preference assessment.
Yeah, cool.
So that's pretty fun. And that's
It's just so cool that you wrote in, Zach. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that was really fun.
We've had a couple authors of papers write in, and it is always such a treat that A, they were listening, and then B, that I don't think anyone's ever said, you totally didn't understand at all what I was writing in my paper. Usually they are able to give us new information or share more,
it's really
more
cool.
resources. It's been excellent.
Yeah. And then the final thing I want to give a shout out is to all the listeners that have written in the last month, giving us really interesting topics that we're going to put on our topic list.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to divulge any topics for the upcoming month, but thank you for those. We're very excited about delving into them. You know, we've gotten a possible book idea, not to write, but to read, for a book topic, because we love to do book club. So thanks for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Keep them coming. That's awesome.
I think that's everything.
It is.
Everything for March. All right. Well, for everyone out there watching this, either watching this on YouTube or listening to this on your favorite podcast device, thank you very much. You can certainly feel free to subscribe. We implore you to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Like I said, you can find all of these episodes and our full-length episodes on YouTube, where actually we do turn on the subtitling feature. So if you need that, or if you'd prefer to listen with that on, it is available. And you can also find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram as ABA Inside Track, as Jackie said. And please do email us with any thoughts or ideas or research or follow-up questions at abainsidetrack aba-inside-track@gmail.com. And if you're interested in purchasing CEs, you can just go to our website, aba-inside-track.com, and click the Get CEUs button. If you just want to listen, we also have a very extensive previous episodes list at this point. Man, it was a short list 3 years ago, and it is now upwards of 80 plus episodes. We also have a number of bonus episodes that are not considered for CEs, but they're either shorter interviews,
bloopers.
We had a couple of years we did some bloopers. We did a live talk at the Babbitt conference. We usually, when we go to conferences, we do lots of student poster interviews. So lots of different fun things. You can listen for hours and hours and hours, and hopefully never get tired of our sweet, sweet voices. All right. Well, we will
It's okay if you need to take a break.
Yeah, I mean, you take a break. Listen to some other stuff. We will be back next week and all through the rest of March with some exciting behavior analytic topics and discussion. But until then, keep responding. Bye!
See you in April!